Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Can you please take your seats?
Good to see you again,
Hi.
Steve van Veldhoven from WRI.
Yes, good to see you.
Good to see you. I'm going to see where I am.
Can I ask everyone to take a seat? Some of you are at the table, otherwise you take any seats. Everyone is nice. You should be at one of the tables. If you haven't been told by her to sit somewhere, you just pick any table.
Who is her? I'll check.
Good evening, everyone. May I have your attention? Good evening, everyone. I know you're all excited to meet your neighbors, to talk. You'll have plenty of opportunities during the evening to talk. My name is Cedric. I'll be your moderator for the evening. I work for Holcim, proud co-host with the Ocean Race and Richard. Welcome to the most exciting dinner during the Davos week. We're going to talk this evening about a word that has never been as relevant as today in the current context, and a word that has popped up in probably every event I've been at: trust. And we will explore trust from many different angles with our guests. What we will do this evening, we'll have a few interventions. We want to make it a lively discussion. If you have a question, if you have a comment, please look at me, make me a sign. Everyone's welcome to intervene. There is no recording. It's Chatham House event. There might be a photographer coming, but it's just to create content for us, which will not be published. we'll have 3 moments. First, I will turn to our hosts, Richard and Carmen, in a moment to give us an inspiration and word of introduction. We will have a pause. After starter, I have a surprise for you. It's a really exciting one, so hold your spaces. Then we will have main course, and then I will engage with some of you and the rest of you to close the evening. So without further ado, I would like to turn to Richard, who contacted us saying, I have a great idea for an exciting dinner in Davos, and let's not talk about boats, let's not talk about cement and concrete, let's talk about trust. So I'm turning to you to give us a little bit more information about your thoughts.
Yeah, well, that's one of the rare things that I did. Thank you, Cedric, and it's truly great to be here in Davos. And someone asked me, what do you love about Davos? And I'd say this year, what I love about Davos is that it's called the Blue Davos. And Peter will tell us all about that in his closing words. Great to have you here, Ambassador Peter Thomson. And great to have all of you here, friends. I won't mention anyone else. But I'm with the Ocean Race. I've been with the race since my beginning, I would say. And it has turned into a race for the ocean. And it's not because we came up with it. And I didn't come up with the theme of trust, because that's who we are. You know, we are, in our DNA, it is to look after the ocean. So we run a big science program. We run a big ocean literacy program. We run a ocean policy program. And we do that together with partners. And with Holcim, we worked together for many years now. And in particular, we worked on gathering science data from places around the world where no one goes. So on the Holcim boat, for example, in the last edition, that was equipped very specialized equipment instrument that we have developed that is measuring how much microplastics there is in the water, and it's staggering. We've done samples on microplastics across the world, the size of a third of a hair strand, and we find it everywhere, unfortunately. But tonight, we shall discuss all these things as well. But tonight, we really find ourselves in a special situation because we are in a crisis of isolation, or how you want to frame it. And just today, Edelman came out with a new trust report which says that 70% of people feel misled by the institutions that are meant to steer the boat, that are meant to steer the ship, 70%. And in our own backyards, our sort of a country like Switzerland, only 20% of people still believe that the future will be better than the past. So that's a pretty grim future that our youngsters are looking at. So we are here to discuss the decline in trust. And is this a structural failure, or is it an ongoing decline since I don't know how long? And we are here, to me, because trust is not a soft value. It's really the most valuable currency there is. And that's a timeless value in that currency. And we often talk about trust in a negative note, I think. We talk about when we lost trust, when someone betrayed us, when they didn't deliver. But I think it's as important to talk about the positive aspects of trust, because trust is really something that brings speed. It's something that brings better economy. It's something that makes life more enjoyable, frankly. So I want to start this evening a bit with a personal story when I was much younger than today, when I really learned the power of trust in a positive way. And the race that we run around the world, I sailed it twice, and I did it. They say if you do it once, you're brave. If you do it more than once, and Will, who we'll hear from more, he done it more than once, then you're considered pretty crazy. And I did it twice, there you go. And that first time, I really learned this important lesson. And it was in as far away from land you can come, in the Southern Ocean. It was a dark night, pitch black, you couldn't see anything, and the storm came over us. And I was steering our boat. It was an 80-foot maxi yacht, beautiful Italian boat called Gatorade. And I was 21 years of age. And this storm just kept increasing, and I was getting more and more worried for each surf down the big waves. And we were careering down there, and too much sails, and everything was going to crash, I felt. And I was getting so nervous. And then someone crawled out of the hatch over there. Another crew member came up on deck and crawled back to me, and everyone is hooded up. You don't know who it is. And then this man comes up to me, and it's the skipper, Pierre Sicuri, the legendary Italian, the king of the Southern Ocean, Pierre Sicuri. We brought him on board specifically for that leg. And I thought, oh my God, now he's going to take over. He's going to take the helm from me. But he didn't, so he just stood beside me. And I was concentrating and my legs were trembling. And then he said something very important, because then he shouted to me through the hood and he said, "Richard, I trust you. Just do your best. I take the responsibility." And I just, oof. All this tension just left me and I grew and I felt, wow, now I can steer this boat. And I think that was an incredible leadership lesson, just this word, I trust you, just do your best, I take the responsibility. And then I realized afterwards, a long time, that how you can grow by empowering someone, by trusting someone. And if you think about it yourself, if someone looks in your eyes and says, "I trust you," something happens, and that's proven in several studies. So that's a part of what you will hear tonight, but you will hear more from Will, who is a much more current sailor, who is much more top-notch, and he will share some stories later on real trust on these racing boats. And I might share later on, not to all of you, but at the nightcap, another story that I know Peter loves, which when I learned to trust the ocean, which was a very near-death experience when we almost sank in the same waters in Southern Ocean. And then I really learned to trust the ocean. But remember that, I trust you, just do your best, I take the responsibility. That was Pierre Sicori's word to me. So in closing here, I think that we all have our views on what is trust, what does it mean, and it's a big cultural difference from country to country. How much do you trust each other? And I think that could be something that can be discussed amongst the tables. And Mats Granryd, who will be introduced properly later on, who is amongst many things the chairman of Business Sweden. We are fellow Swedes. And Swedes, we are sometimes considered being too trustworthy at the point of being naive. And maybe we are that. And rightly, we are consistently rated as number 1 or number 2 in the world when it comes to interpersonal and institutional trust. But Sweden, interestingly, is also widely considered one of the most successful countries in history when it comes to producing large and successful leading companies relative to our population. And one of the reasons why that has worked, I'm not saying that's the future, but is that trust reduces friction in business deals, it reduces friction in partnerships and within the companies. So, of course, Mats has never been let down. I've been let down a number of times as a Swede, but that's how we learn to really appreciate trust and value it more than anything. So, talk about this topic, and to me, trust is about 3 words. It's about honesty, it's about empathy, and it's about competence. And with these 3 values, really boils down to one thing: reliability. So trust is reliability, if you ask me. Thank you, and have a great evening together.
You want to show something?
Yes, go ahead.
So Richard has a few images for you. Can I ask you to play the video? Isn't that amazing? Isn't that absolutely exciting? So I'm going to turn to our other co-host, Carmen Diaz from Holcim. And you may wonder, Carmen is Chief People and Sustainability Officer at Holcim. Holcim is a construction materials company. What is the link with the Ocean Race Trust Holcim? Carmen, come and help us to understand.
Thank you all for being here. It's a pleasure, an honor, and a privilege to have you all here. What can I say after these powerful messages and these powerful images that we have seen? Sometimes business are like that, eh? Yeah. Sometimes day to day we feel the same that the skipper and all the crew can feel. But okay, your question, Cedric. What does it mean, no, for us in Holcim?
Exactly.
Trust. Wow. When we talk about trust, we talk about leadership. We talk how we empower our people to do their best. How we are building this trust in our business. I would like to, because you mentioned, Richard, is about empathy. And let's put on the shoes of our key stakeholders. Our shareholders, our customers, and our employees. And I really want to put the focus on these key actors in our business. In our sustainability agenda, we have to bring transparency. And we have to provide the trust by bringing transparency based on science on what we do. And this is very important for us. And that's why we have SBTI targets, SBTN targets, so everything related about nature and how we are delivering our commitments in our Next Gen Growth 2030 strategy. This is very important. When we talk our customers and how we are building trust with them, here we are talking about innovation and how we are bringing low-carbon, sustainable solutions for them to make their projects a reality based on sustainability and innovation. And we have solutions there, and obviously, it has to be trustful. We have proven examples in London, in the Canary Wharf, with real estate companies. We are building circularity with them, and also in France, in Resinergy, 100% recycled concrete. So this is already a reality. So we are building real trust with them in order to partner and to moving forward. And then, last but not least, and the most important and really attached to my heart, because now I'm Chief People and Sustainability Officer at Holcim, but my former role was Country CEO. And really, I'm attached to the crown. No? I'm attached to the operations. I'm attached to the people. In an industrial company, we have a lot of workforce, different backgrounds. So when it comes to people and how we motivate and how we empower different backgrounds, is super important for us. So that's why in Holcim, we are strongly pushing for our culture, our values. And when we talk about that, we talk about Holcim spirit, which is based on purpose, people, and performance. How we are putting innovation and sustainability at the core of everything what we do. How we are putting people, our people, at the center by nurturing the talent, promoting diversity, and having health and safety our top priority. And of course, because we are business, a deeply performance culture and value creation. So all in all, we are making a big family, which is Holcim, and really, okay, I can talk for hours because you will fall in love in cement, in ready-mix, in mortars, but I don't want to spoil the party. But really, what matters is our people. We have very good results in our engagement survey, fully engaged people, motivated. And then going back to Richard's point, I think it's the empowerment for them to tell them, I trust you, do your best, keep going. It's also a very good reflection, and thank you for bringing that, Richard, because we have to tell ourselves as well. I trust myself. I will do my best, and I keep going. So enjoy the dinner. Thank you very much for being here. And Cedric, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you, Richard. I don't know about you, but I am starving and I haven't had breakfast, neither lunch. So we're going to have a little stop now. Enjoy your neighbors, enjoy the starter, and then I'll come up again with the surprise. Hi, everyone. May I have your attention again? It's time for the surprise. We'll continue your conversation afterwards. You've seen the video that Richard has showed us. You've seen the activity and the intensity there is on those boats, the intensity of those races. What best than having one of the skippers that has been co-piloting one of those boats with the Malizia team. Do I pronounce that correctly? Malizia team. Will Harris, a professional skipper that has participated to several ocean races. Will, please join me and please welcome Will. Please take a seat. Well, let's seat. Okay. Let's do the Davos thing as we call a fireside chat.
Fireside chat, okay.
Fantastic. I understand it's your first time in Davos.
This is a different world for me here. I'm not very good in the mountains, but
you are plunged into an uncomfortable zone. This is not your usual water. So welcome, Will, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for being here.
Perhaps some of participants don't know you. So you are a professional offshore sailor. Tell us a little bit about you, your career, and how did you become an offshore sailor?
So it was a bit how Richard explained. I'm one of the sailors for the Ocean Race. I competed in the Round the World race in 2023, and I'm currently gearing up to do it again in 2027. So I'll enter that crazy category of sailors next year, hopefully. But the way it all started. I mean, I really grew up sailing on lakes and ended up sailing around the world in the Around the World Ocean Race. So. I grew up in the suburbs of London, racing on dinghies, reservoirs, my parents who got me into it. And I was initially following the Olympic cycle of sailing, trying to do the Olympics. And I was really drawn to that competition side of sailing. And while I was growing up, I started watching on TV something called the Volvo Ocean Race, which is what we know as the Ocean Race now. And seeing these sailors in the Southern Ocean being battered by waves and having the adventure of their lives, and I said, I've got to try and make that happen. See what I can do. So I ended up studying oceanography in Southampton, and sort of had my first opportunities to move to France and try and make it my dream. It's really a very French sport at the moment. There's a lot going on in France. It's sort of the paddocks, I would say, of this ocean racing is based over here in France, and that's where I really got given my first bit of trust as an ocean sailor. I would say I met a skipper called Boris Herrmann, who was a very well-known sailor in Germany. And as a relatively young sailor, I was 25 at the time, he put me as co-skipper of Team Malizia to then go and race around the world as part of the team. And I think he had a list of about 100 other sailors who were way more experienced than me, but we just spent 2 days sailing together, and we just gelled and totally got on. And it was, that was 6 years ago, and now here we are getting ready for our second ocean race. So it was really about trying to make the opportunities appear to actually end up being in this position now and calling ocean racing my career. So
fantastic. So from pond racing in London to the ocean race, wow, that's pretty amazing. So Will, we've seen the video. The video gives us a glimpse of the intensity of what happens on these boats.
It brings back some memories seeing that. Yeah.
Yes, I am sure. But can you tell us a little bit more of the experience you have on this boat? Because there are things that we can't sense through this: the sound, the motion, the equipment that is breaking, the unexpected. Can you share with us a few experience and a few feelings that you get on this boat?
Yeah, I think, like Richard was saying earlier, you always end up as a sailor being in a storm at some point, and in these very tough parts of the world. We sail in the Southern Ocean, we sail past Cape Horn, and this is sort of notoriously what is the most sort of talked about experiences that the sailors have, I think, from competing in something like the Ocean Race. But I think the thing that really hit home for me, or the biggest experience for me in the Ocean Race, was actually sailing back past my hometown Surrey, southwest London, and we'd just sailed 37,000 miles around the world over 6 months, and suddenly I was zooming in on the map, and it wasn't just blue ocean anymore. It was my hometown where I first grew up, and it just made me realize how small the world really is. There's a lot of big oceans out there, but we can sail around the world in less than 6 months on a sailing boat. It's really not that big a place, but it's just one of the biggest experiences I had. But
is that what you feel when you're at Point Nemo? By the way, Point Nemo is in the South Pacific, correct? And when the sailor is at Point Nemo, you are closer to the international space stations than anyone else on Earth. Is that correct?
Well, yes. I was actually going to come on to that later, but
sorry for the spoiler.
So it's actually Point Nemo, where the astronauts are 500 kilometers up in the sky, but it's actually for more than 50% of the race that we're further than any other humans, including the astronauts from rescue, from help, from anything like that. And that's probably one of the most unnerving feelings, I think, when you're actually out on the ocean. But the life on board the boats is, that's you sort of got a little bit of a glimpse of it there. But they're extremely bouncy boats. We're always trying to push the technology on these boats. We're trying to be as light as possible. There's no comfort. There's no showers. There's not really a toilet on board. It's cooking is a camping stove, and we're doing watches. We're sailing 24/7. You'll really have very broken sleep the whole time. You're never really sleeping more than 2-3 hours. So life on board is really tough, but you kind of wonder, why do you keep doing it? But it's really addictive. When you come back on the land and you have that first meal, or you have a glass of wine or a beer or something, or you have a shower, it's the best. It feels 10 times better when you do that, and we're really chasing that when we're going sailing. But I think the thing that's really tough about it is it doesn't stop at the end of the day. We race for up to 30 days at a time, and it's not like we can sort of clock off work at the end of the day. You're still on the boat. You're still only 2 meters away from the other 5 crew members on the boat. You're always on and always switched on, and you have to really come together as a crew, I think, to overcome those bits and sort of get to the finish line first.
And sleep deprivation is a real issue?
Yes, you have to learn how to do it. I'm sure there's lots of parents here who know quite a lot about that already, but you learn how to deal with sleep deprivation. Sleep deprivation gets rid of concentration, and you have to learn how to find that concentration again when your body's not at 100%. And again, it's a bit of management as well, but it's you get used to it, and through the tough parts of the races, you have to look forward to the slightly less tough parts of it.
Brilliant. By the way, I advise you to go and race on your local pond and then have a shower this weekend and see what that feels like. Let's go back. Let's go to the issue that we want to discuss tonight. You're not alone on the boat. You have teammates. You also have a crew on the ground that helps you. How do you establish trust within a race team? Because you are in an extreme environment, as you said. It's 24/7. You don't clock out. You're on top of each other with no comfort, with a team that is on the other side. How do you establish this trust?
Yeah, on board these boats, trust goes a lot further than just being a teammate. It's really our life support. Like we're saying, we're more than 50% of the race. We're the most isolated humans on the planet. When something goes wrong, when you have a collision, a medical incident, a problem with the boat, it's really those teammates around you that you're relying on to keep you alive, to keep you in a good place. So it's more than a week to any sort of hospital help or anything like that. So they're your medic, they're your engineer, they're your support, they're your psychologist, they're everything on board. So you really need to rely on your crew. And I think trying to find that trust in your crew, it's about empowerment and responsibility. You can't go to sea without feeling that trust that they're going to be there for when you can't be there or when you have some sort of problem. So you have to give your crewmates your responsibility to show that and to prove that to you that they've earned your trust. And I think that's something we're always trying to do before we go sailing. It's not like we can go and live together for 20 days in a 5 square meter space beforehand. We've got to trust that we're going to be able to do that for 20 days on the boat beforehand. And so I think, trying to give everyone empowerment in the crew to prove to earn their trust with you is the most important bit before we go to the sea with the crew.
Yeah, it's interesting you use the language earning the trust. It's not something that is taken for granted, and something that you develop and build every day in this extreme environment. So can you share a moment with us? Can you share an experience where trust in your teammates or trust in yourself made a difference between success and failure?
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed Richard's story earlier of the trust from the skipper he saw there. There's so many moments where you feel that little boost of confidence from that. Maybe it's your skipper, maybe it's your teammate, feeling that they trust you to do what you've got to do. But I think was one really big scenario for me in the last Ocean Race. We were racing from Cape Town to Itajai in Brazil, so it's the longest leg in the race that they've ever had, 12,000 miles.
How many days?
36 days at sea.
36 days at sea. Wow.
So very long time, and we just set off from Cape Town, and 24 hours after the start, the sail fell straight in the water. So the mast had a huge crack in it, and we were very close to losing the mast. And it happens sometimes. Gear failure is something we have to deal with, and our options were to try and repair it in the Southern Ocean, the most remote ocean in the world, and very difficult place, very cold, extremely wavy. We're looking at 3-4 meter waves with a mast that's 30 meters up in the sky. You have to climb up to the top of the mast and then get thrown around about, with the centrifugal force as well, throwing you side to side and trying to do some sort of lamination repair on the top. Or go back home, and that was going to be race over, because it meant we couldn't get to the next stopover, and there was sort of a knock-on event. So we spent 24 hours thinking about it. We were really like, if we send someone up there, it's going to be, what are we going to bring them down like? They're going to be battered, or they're going to be in pieces. So we had to think about it while the rest of the boat sailed off into the distance. And eventually, the next morning, I sort of wake up, and I'm there with the skipper, Boris, and we're drinking a coffee, and I'm like, look, if I try go up there, I trust you that if something goes wrong, you're going to drop me back down and you're going to look after me, and we go back home if it's not going to work. So after this coffee, I'm going to go up there, I'm going to try. And we tried, and 2 days later, we managed to repair it. It felt like I'd been riding a horse for 2 days, but everything went fine, had lots of protection on, and we managed to repair it, and we actually went on to win that leg 30 days later.
Wow, bravo.
Yeah. And I think the thing that was really, monumental for us was when we managed to do the repair in 2 days, and we were 2-3 days behind our competitors, and it was overcoming that as a team that really gave us the drive to then be pushing for the next 30 days. The other boats, they didn't have to overcome a problem like that, and slowly they were getting worn down by the race, by getting tired and not pushing as hard. And because we'd come from this very low point and working our way up and sort of trusting the team and pushing each other and knowing that if we get through this, we can pretty much do anything, that meant that we were able to catch up and actually come back and win the leg. So I think that was probably one of the biggest moments for me.
Yeah, Carmen, does that ring a bell? Our CEO always says our biggest enemy is complacency. So I'm going to turn to you for questions, 2 or 3 questions to Will, so get prepared. Otherwise, I will pick on some of you. Around the room here in Davos, lots of businesses. What can business learn from trust that you have developed on the boat in professional racing, in extreme environments, and participating in an adventure, a human adventure, sporting and human adventure such the Ocean Race? What advice, what can we learn from this as businesses?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of relationships when we think about trust and in businesses and sports, because at the end of the day, we both have teams. We're both individual humans that are trying to work together, and trying to use this element of trust is the most valuable way to get the most out of our team. And when I think of the relationship with ocean racing specifically, if we go back to sort of our life support, I think if a business is thinking about how they're going to set up their team or how they're going to trust someone, it's worth going beyond just thinking about what's their experience, what's there on the paper, and asking the question, would I trust this person or would I trust this team with my life? You know, are they there to get my back when things go wrong? Are they spotting that rope that's worn out, that thing that's about to break? Are they looking out for that fishing boat that's in front of us that we might collide? And you know, really trying to think about, are they going to go that extra mile to look after us? And I think that's where you really find that trust. And like Richard said, when you find that relaxing feeling of, I trust this person, I trust this team, I can get on with whatever my goal is, whether it's to win the race or do whatever job that we're trying to do and achieve whatever goal we're going to do. And trying to use that aspect of it, of asking that question of, how much would I trust this person with my life? I think that's the question we have to ask each and every of our crew members when we go to sea with them, and I think it's exactly what businesses should do as well.
Interesting. Thank you so much. Anyone? Does anyone have a question? Eva? Just introduce yourself, not your CV, just your name, who you represent.
Thanks so much, Cedric, and thank you. I'm Eva Zabe. I lead a coalition called Business for Nature. And I have to say, this has been really fantastic. You've brought us on an adventure with you. I feel kind of seasick, but that's okay from the video. Humanity is a little bit in the stormy waters now, right? Sort of sense of direction. When will the storm pass? How long will it last? And I just wondered if maybe when you're in a storm, in the middle of not knowing, maybe there's something we can learn from that you could share.
I think there's, you know, the fantastic thing we have with this sport, you know, I count myself very lucky to get to do my passion as my job, to get to sail, you know, in the world. We get to go to the most remote parts of the oceans, and I think the fantastic thing about it is we have these days of total calm, you know, total nothingness at all, and we have days where it's the perfect sailing conditions, where it's, you know, dream conditions, sunny, 10 to 15 knots of wind, and then you have these moments where it's really tough, where it's a huge storm and it's extremely challenging, and you've got to, you know, rely on each other a lot. But I think it goes along with other things as well. There's always going to be ups and downs in everything, and it's about trying to be as stable as possible in all these situations as well. And you know, when we think about it's a tricky time for the climate and for the oceans as well. It's, you know, we really, you know, at the forefront of what we're trying to do is protect our playground, our race course, which is the oceans at the same time. And I think trying to think about those, you know, whenever we get to be out there and whenever we get to sail in the oceans, of, you know, trying to showcase that and show that there is these large oceans which we maybe don't appreciate enough at the moment. And there's going to be ups and downs in it, but we've got to always look towards the positive sides and always try and think ahead of what we can do to reach that point.
Thank you so much.
Will, a question from me here. You have been spending so much time in the ocean. What was the thing that you witnessed that gave you more hope or more despair?
Okay, yeah, that's a very good question. The thing that flashes to my mind right now is we competed in the other part of the Ocean Race, which is called the Ocean Race Europe last year, and when we did a leg from Portsmouth around to Cartagena in the Mediterranean, and as we approached the corner of Finisterre, you have a big. I'm an oceanographer as well, so I absolutely love this part of it. But you go from a part of the ocean where it's 5,000 meters deep to the continental shelf, which is 200 meters deep, and as we're approaching it, well, I think we were winning the race at this point as well, which is also always makes you feel good. But as we were approaching, there was this absolute abundance of life. You know, every 50 meters we would see a new whale, a new dolphin pod, a new area of. So this was up in the corner of Finisterre, the northwest corner of Spain, And it's obviously it's a very good place. It's a very good place for wildlife and for animals, because you have all this upwelling, so it brings lots of nutrients and food, and then there's fish. Then the whales come, and I've never seen so much life in the ocean in one place all together. And that's just was a monumental moment for me, because everything we see is about decline, and it's about decreasing amounts of fish, of things like this. But as probably a lot of you know, the whale population has been doing the opposite. It's been increasing since 1970, since we actually stopped the whaling, and every 5 years the whale population's actually doubled. So that to see all that wildlife all at once on this beautiful day was it gave me a lot of hope that if we can put the right policies in place, if we can make the changes we need to, I think we can see that in lots of other areas of the ocean as well.
And the bad one?
Let's stay on a positive note.
Okay.
We've got two more
I
questions.
think
One here, and then a gentleman there at the back.
Thank you. Masanori from Sasaka Peace Foundation in Japan. We ask questions to the yacht persons about the changes they observe in the marine environment. Kojiro Shiraishi, another legendary yachtman, also told me a number of stories about the changes they observe the marine environment, the wind, the climate, and I am curious about knowing how you see any changes in the climate and the ocean. Thank you.
Yeah, we know Kojiro very well. Hopefully we're going to be racing against him in the next Ocean Race. He's putting in the Japanese team. I think there's lots of ways in which we see the ocean changing. On the oceanography side, one thing we're doing, and all the yachts in the Ocean Race now do, is we have something called an ocean pack on board, and it's actually collecting scientific ocean data wherever we're sailing. We switch it on at the start, it samples the water, and it creates a scientific grade temperature, CO2, and salinity in terms of data collection, which we can then send back to the scientists and put in big oceanic models. And this is obviously what I love, to see how we can actually use this data to further understand the oceans. And the big shifts we're seeing is the increase in CO2. The oceans are absorbing 30% of all man-made CO2, and it's such a big well, but it's increasing there, just like our atmosphere as well. And we shouldn't forget how our impacts in the atmosphere are also going to impact our oceans and in that side of it. And we see this in the data as well. And it's not in one specific part of the ocean. It's very spread out in different bodies of water. You have different levels of CO2 and temperature. But alongside it, you can really see the temperature changes and the gradual increase as well wherever we're going. And what that means for us as racers, specifically sort of affecting us, is the races around the world. And if you sort of look at the globe, it's the round the world races going around Antarctica. We sort of go past the 3 capes, and in order to avoid any risk of ice, thankfully there's something called an ice exclusion zone. It stops us having any impact with ice, and that's slowly been moving further north because of the increasing temperatures of the oceans, and that's making our race course longer. That means we have to sail further around. It means we're less likely to break the records, but it's impressive to see that it's making, every year we see this going further and further north because there's more and more ice melting in the Antarctic. But I think that's the main parts.
One last question.
Yes, my name is Florian. I'm based in Geneva. I do impact investing. And when you do this is about a cause. A cause is bigger than you. But the question I have is specifically is, how come you chose to do what you do? Because I guess it's not a normal thing, and there has to be something behind which triggered you, maybe when you were younger, I don't know, to do such extreme things, and to put you out there. If you could tell us that.
It's a very good question, because I have to ask it myself quite a lot, and I have to justify it to my wife quite regularly as well. And why am I away from home all the time? But I think the thing for me, I came from this background of Olympic class of sailing. It's an Olympic race in sailing is lasting 1 or 2 hours, and then it's finished. And I really love the competitive edge of it, but I think really it was because I was younger, and you're not really allowed to do this offshore, this sort of risky offshore sailing when you're younger than 18. And when I did get my first opportunity, I realized it wasn't just the competitiveness and the racing, it was the it was the adventure and the endurance. I absolutely love the challenge of trying to push the human body 24/7 round the clock, where the race goes beyond just trying to be the fastest. It's, well, you're trying to be the fastest, but by being as efficient as possible, you've got to figure out when you're going to eat, when you're going to sleep, when you're going to use the toilet, when you're going to look at the weather. You know, you have to really prioritize everything you can on the boat, and usually the person who does the best job of that is gonna win the race. So I think it's that combination of sort of endurance and adventure and competition that really drew me to ocean racing. And yeah, I see how long I keep like doing it, but for now I'm more and more addicted to it.
We could continue. On this note of addiction, we wish you all the best for the next race. We hope to see you on the podium without a broken mast and having to climb on top of it. Let's have our main course before it gets cold, but please help me thanking Will Harris for spending the evening with us. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really sorry, it's me again. It's the last section. After we will leave you alone. We would like to close the evening and dig a little deeper in the subject of trust. And to do that, I'm going to call on some of our guests to share their perspective in very different contexts. So I would first like to turn to Mats Grandrid. Don't worry, I'm going to grill you. But it's going to go fine. It's going to go fine. You can stay there if you want. You can come up. Up to you. Among other things, you are chairman of energy company Vattenfall. I was exploring your website the other day, and at Vattenfall you say we are working for fossil freedom. Wow, that's a bold purpose. And for a company like Vattenfall having such a bold purpose, if it's not anchored in trust with your stakeholders, be they your investors or the civil society, you're at risk. So can you share a little bit with us how you do that?
Sure. Well, it's actually quite simple in the Vattenfall case, because Vattenfall in Swedish is waterfall. That's sort of what it is. And in Vattenfall's case, we're a state-owned company, which means that all Swedes own Vattenfall. And the purpose is really ingrained in the company. So if I would say, I'm the chairman, so if I would say that we're going to invest in a coal-fired plant, for instance, that would just not fly. It would be completely wrong. So the trust in the company, the trust in the decisions, the trust that the stakeholders are all for it. So it's actually very easy in that regard. But I was going to say that, Will, when you're doing your sailing, when I think about sailing, it's blue ocean, very nice weather, maybe a beer. That is sort of what it is on being on a board, normally. But then you have the storms coming. And that same in the world of board work. You have sort of 95% plain sailing, very easy. And then you have 5% sheer terror. You don't know what's going on. And I think that's sort of in a very, very modest similarity to sailing to business world, really. But trust is absolutely pivotal in everything we do. And I think, Richard, you said it well, that it's not only Swedish people that have a good understanding of trust. I think many of us here have a good understanding of trust. And trust is sort of what makes this world become much easier. And if we don't have trust, it is just so infinite more difficult to achieve anything.
How important is the narrative to establish this trusting relationship? You say that Swedish population owns Vattenfall. It's been a journey. It hasn't been acquired in one day, this trust. What was the journey like?
No, the journey is authenticity. If you're not sort of speaking and doing the same thing, you're toast immediately. You need to be authentic. You need to say what you think and then do what you think and actually implement it. If you deviate from that, it's not going to work.
Thank you so much, Mats.
Thank you.
Let's go to a different part of business. Barbara Karutzeller, I hope I haven't massacred your name. You are COO of Alliance Group. We all know who Alliance is. Trust is central of how risk is managed every day. So what are the concrete actions that leader can take to make trust operational, especially when we talk about safety, compliance, reliability, that matters to trust? Can you give us a perspective, please?
Thanks a lot. So thanks for having me. It's of course a bit difficult speaking after all these impressive speeches. And yes, I'm not a sailor, but I love to be on a sailboat. Luckily, my husband is a sailor, and I trust him fully. And I think this is what many of you said already. Now there's
one thing that we need to trust in our own capabilities, and then to really call what we have, even if it's stormy weather, as we see also this week. But then there's the other, how do you earn trust? And this is really, and Richard, you said it, probably read the same books, because I listened to someone, he said it's like 4 components, is to be honest, then of course to be reliable, to be competent, but also to care. And this is what then in Allianz, the trust comes in the moment of truth, when something happens, when something doesn't go well because there's a nut cut, there's something happening. And of course, as Chief Operating Officer, I'm responsible for all the processes. And the processes means that then in this moment of truth, the customer can trust in us that we do the best that is really needed. And we are actually teaching the organization is this one touch. No, the customer calls and has a problem, and then with really very few contacts, we solve what needs to be solved. And I give you an example because I always put the bar also on companies I deal with. And when I was traveling, I had to experience one time the plane broke, and that can always happen. No? But then we were like 12 hours delayed, and then everything, of course, we had to book the hotel, the taxi. But then was very nice because they had on the website online easy. You put like the booking code, and then it was already pre-populated, my name, address, everything. And then was just to upload the pictures of the invoice. 3 days later, money was on the account. No, this is something where I think, this is nice. This company really does all these things. It's reliable, it's competent, it's caring, honest, everything works. Now the experience between like 2 business travels, my luggage got lost on a flight, like really like from Munich to Florence, ended in Zurich, whoever knows why. And then the same, I actually saw super online, a different airline, but I do the same online, first notification of loss, and then nirvana. And then I tried to look again on the website, nothing. Then we tried to call, nobody reachable. Then we reached someone, they said send an email, no response to the email. And then 4 days later, I get 2 emails with 2 different claim numbers. Then as a Chief Operating Officer, you know that will never work. and this is what we keep teaching. We say, listen, we really need to look through the eyes of the customer, what we expect also ourselves as really excellent service. This is what we need to give to really earn that trust. And it's not only for us being there in the moment of truth that we do after the disaster happened, but starting before, starting in predicting with the data at hand, that we understand where actually a flood is coming, where a storm is coming, like sending SMS to the clients, that we start already preventing with the data also in healthcare management, predicting. And I think this is really what you need to do to really show to your clients that you care for them, that you have the people, they are competent, they are reliable, and they're really honest.
Thank you, Barbara. So very different perspective in different sectors. So now let's turn to a sector that we at Holcim, we are obsessed, construction. So Rasmus Norgaard, you are one of the founder and now board member of Urban Partners. For those of you who don't know, Urban Partners is a leading European urban investment manager, owner, operator. Is that correct? That's correct. I was again surfing on the website, and I've seen that one of the 4 priorities at Urban Partners is to pioneer problem-solving partnerships. So in effect, what you're trying to do is to change the paradigm of urban development with your partners. That requires a lot of trust in your partners, and it requires acquiring the trust of your stakeholders who live in these urban environments. So can you share a few thoughts with us on how you do that at Urban Partners?
So thank you. And Urban Partners started out being more of a real estate investor and developer. And I would say, like Matt said, I think in any type of business, trust is actually crucial when you have a lot of stakeholders. I think the difference is when you start working at an urban scale or a neighborhood scale, you have projects that last for a very long period of time. I mean, most projects will last between 10 and 20 years. And to your point, you have thousands of stakeholders in principle because the entire community around it. So I think we try and engage with cities, you say intimately. We want to be a preferred partner of cities. And we engage with cities at many different levels, both at a knowledge level. So we are a member of C40 cities, Bloomberg cities. We've started different initiatives that involve cities as well. But I think more than anything, it's about being present at the local level and building credibility over time, like in most other businesses as well. But I think municipalities, they get burnt, especially in real estate. So there are a lot of people in real estate that say something and do something else. And when you are in a partnership with a city for 10 to 20 years, you have no other option than being a credible and trustworthy partner. Do what you say you're doing.
I have a side question which is totally unscripted, and I'm veering a little bit, but we all experiences in our countries housing crises in many of the cities across the world, whether you're in Europe or Latin America. There is a housing deficit. Local, national, federal, and local government are accused of not taking care of housing, not investing in housing. The population is losing trust in the local government. Is there a role to play for real estate investors, partners, to rebuild this trust hand in hand with governments?
No, I think absolutely. I think the real estate industry, I think, often fails to recognize that when you develop in a city, you benefit from all the infrastructure and other things that have been developed there. So I think you say to get the privilege to be a developer in a city, especially if you do it at a larger scale, I think you need to be part of the solution. You need to contribute to those solutions. So, and I think that's one of the ways you can build trust, is if you do take to heart the issues that the city is facing. So absolutely.
Thank you so much, Rasmus. Yeah, you can put it there. I'm now going to turn to Mina Wadwa. I hope I haven't butchered your name. I'm sorry if I have. You are leading Scripps Institution of Oceanography at the University of California. When I looked at what you do, it's absolutely fascinating. You go from a planetary science to NASA missions, as well as leading Scripps, and you explore the unknown. So the question I have for you is, what has surprised you most about this trust dynamic in all the transitions and the missions that you are undertaking with the Scripps Institution?
All right, thank you so much, Cedric. That's a really thoughtful question. And I would say that trust in science, probably at this point, at least in the United States, is at an all-time low. And that's really unfortunate. It's, and I would actually say that, in planetary science, which is my field of study, it's not any different than it is in ocean science or in climate science. It's, I think, across the board, scientists are viewed as having potentially ulterior motives. And again, as I said, it's unfortunate, but that's the truth. An example that I can give you from my field is search for life on Mars. For 4 years, I served as the chief scientist for the Mars Sample Return Program, which just in the last couple of weeks was canceled because there was not enough funding in it in the NASA budget. So there's funding challenges, of course, with that. But at the same time, life on Mars, that's an age-old question. It's an age-old question for humanity, right? I mean, is there life any place else in our solar system? And there have been many false starts along the way. There have been, there evidence of this meteorite. This is an old study, 1996, where they claimed evidence of past life in this meteorite. And then there was a lot of debate among the scientists about it. There was evidence from the rovers, Mars rovers, that are exploring Mars right now that detected methane on the planet and said, well, this is evidence of maybe life. There's no cows on Mars, by the way. But evidence of life on Mars. And there was lots of debate among the scientists, and how the debate was construed in the public was, these scientists don't know what they're doing, or, you know, we're manufacturing the speculative or this highly sensational science to try to boost the funding. And so there is this uncertainty there that people have, that they carry with them, and they think that there's some sort of ulterior motive. What I did find, you know, when I moved over to Scripps, it's not that the perception of uncertainty in the science that generates sort of distrust is any different. It's just that the stakes are higher. The stakes are higher for misunderstanding that uncertainty. People take uncertainty in the climate sciences and in ocean sciences as maybe they manufacture doubt about the science and about taking action about it now. And so they use it as an excuse for delaying action. And I think, you know, that this is the one, and I can tell you as a planetary scientist, this is the one planet that we know harbors life, where life thrives. And this is the only place that we know where that happens. And we better preserve it, right? And so, I mean, there's not any people that are lobbying against Mars missions, but there are people that have, you know, interests against basically taking action now for preserving our oceans, for acting to basically against climate change to try to make a difference. And so, I mean, I think that one of the things that I really hope to do while I'm at Scripps is to make sure that we are making our science relatable to the average person on the street, you know, to their lived experience and to what they're seeing in their own backyards. I mean, people experience, you know, they know people are not uncomfortable with uncertainty. I think the trust, how we build that trust, we have to think about how we do that, because, you know, weather forecasts, people believe in that. If you say there's a 70% chance of rain, people will carry an umbrella with them, right? It's not that hard. But I think it's a matter of, it's not about distrust and uncertainty. I think it is distrust in being left out of understanding the science and left out of being part of the solution.
So on this issue of distrust, the narrative is very important. So as Scripps, how do you communicate around the scientific uncertainty, which is unavoidable, to inspire public trust as opposed to creating fear or distrust?
Yes. So, I mean, I think one of the things that we are doing at Scripps now, I mean, we are a fundamental research, basic research institution, and we have been for the last 120 years. And the thing that we are doing differently now, though, is not just doing the fundamental science, but also doing solutions-based science, things that actually impact everyday lives on a daily basis. I mean, I think one of the things that we're doing, for example, is predicting these atmospheric rivers that, I don't know if you've heard about these in California, but they are, you know, huge storms that come by and they dump lots of rain. And the forecast of these is super important because they help us to avoid drought situations, and they're actually being used for water reservoir management. And so people are actually seeing that there's benefit to actually understanding our systems in a way that's affecting their water supply. And so I think those are the kinds of things that actually can build trust in science, is to actually show what the actual benefit is for investing in science.
Thank you so much, Mira. Thank you very much for trusting me as your moderator and asking you these questions. I would like to close the evening by calling on Ambassador Peter Thomson, UN Secretary General, Envoy on Oceans. Thank you for being with us. I hope we've earned your trust this evening. And I will leave you the mic for a few thoughts and a closing remarks. Do you want to come at the front? You can speak from there if you want.
Do you mind passing that funny-looking wooden thing over there behind you? Yes. Thank you. Yeah, well, I've got this enormous speech, and I realise I haven't brought my glasses, so I can't read what I wrote anyway. So that's okay. Look, I'm a little bit rusty on speaking. Not true, actually. I think I made about 5 speeches today. But when I came to Davos the previous month over Christmas, had a bit of a break, was spent mainly in the company of my 5-year-old granddaughter. She wakes me up in the morning, and I put her to bed at night with a story. So my conversation level is basically 5-year-old level, and it's great. I just love it. I mean, you go back into that sort of creative mode, which you sort of is beaten out of you as you go through life. Anyway, so if I do sound a bit infantile tonight, you'll know why. I do say to her, and I've tried to give her this motto, let the good things guide you. I actually picked it up. People think I'm a deep philosopher, but I actually picked it up from a David Mallet song that I was listening to the other day. I don't know if you know him. He's from Maine. He's passed away now, but he's a fabulous voice and beautiful lyrics. Anyway, one of his songs, he says, and let the good things guide you. And I've used that in about 20 speeches since, and now this is the 21st time. But anyway, I'm drumming it into my 5-year-old. This is how you've got to live your life. Let the good things guide you. And, you know, part of that is, you know, well, what are the good things? I mean, and as a guardian, you say, you know, don't trust so-and-so. You know, it's a negative. Don't trust that. But then, you know, trust this, or trust that person, or, you know, trust that teacher, but that other teacher's a bit odd, don't trust him. So that kind of guidance is going on all the time when we're learning how to be humans. So trust, yeah. And I met Richard Brisius, I can't remember exactly where, but I do remember that pub in Cambridge where we had a lot of beer and talked about the idea of creating a nature's baton. And the idea of this baton was that we would put messages inside the baton, which the Ocean Race would take around the world, from conference to conference, from climate COP to biodiversity COP to ocean conference and so on. And that was probably back in about 2018, and Richard got a really good artist in Britain to put this together. It so happened that the artist's husband was a metal worker, which is why he made such a fine screw for this. Because inside this beautiful wooden baton, there is a metal tube. And into that tube, we have put so many letters from presidents of countries, from presidents of conferences, which we carry then sustainably, usually by the yachts, but sometimes by, for example, the COP in Glasgow. We had a bicycle relay race that took it all the way up from Southampton up to Glasgow. And inside there is a message from the previous president of some big conference saying, hey, look, you know, we've all got to be in this together. It's just pulling it all together is really what the baton is about. And look, it sounded like a crazy idea at the time, but it was based on trust. I guess Richard trusted that I would be able to get presidents and prime ministers and so on to take this thing seriously. And I was obviously trusting in Richard that he was saying, look, we're going to deliver it. We'll take this and sail it to wherever you need it to be. And that's happened now over the last, 6 years or something. And I can't tell you how many prime ministers and presidents and so on have held this up. And they love it for the media, of course, you know, all the local channels are holding that. But that's a good example for me of trust working, and the baton has certainly been very successful. The next bit of my speech, Mina has already stolen, because if I would say how often do I use the word trust, it would always be in the phrase trust science. Why? Because we're battling this disinformation campaign that, who's running it, who came to the United Nations last September and said people that talk about climate change have evil intentions. Evil intentions, They just looked at each other like, what does that mean? Just couldn't get it. All we're trying to do is protect our grandchildren. And but that's evil intentions. And of course, I guess it's about the oil and gas industry and taking the dollars away from the shareholders of that industry. That seems to be the main reason for them spreading what is obviously a distrust of science, which is increasingly the tactic. And so my message to everybody that I see is trust science. We announced today, when I say we, the Saudi Arabian Princess Rima and I announced this coral summit we're going to have in Saudi Arabia. Coral, as you know, is under extreme threat. And so this year we're having a high-level coral summit to address the science and the policy and the funding necessary to turn around the threat to coral. And we're starting with science. And luckily the quadrennial meeting, the International Coral Reef Society, is meeting in July. And they will come to Saudi Arabia. People have said, well, Saudi Arabia, that's oil and gas industry. Yeah, but I've had the assurance that the science will be unfettered, that we will present it, and people will know what is causing the death of coral. And it's not just global warming, of course. There are many other things that are causing coral. But that fundamental principle that we have agreed to is that trust the science that is brought to the Coral Summit. I think the other thing that I would say on trusting the evidence of observation, because that's what science basically is I remember I was living in New Zealand at the time. It was probably late 80s or early 90s, and the Ocean Race in those days was called the Whitbread Race. And down in the southern hemisphere, we were probably a lot more tuned into this race. Obviously, it's a big deal for us down there, and all these yachts go sailing by. And I remember following the Whitbread reports as they were being radioed in as the yachts were coming across from South Africa, across the Southern Ocean towards us. And it was the first time in my life I heard about plastic debris out there in the high seas. Obviously, we knew about it on our beaches, but it was the ocean race burned to the edges. Right? Southern Ocean is about as far as the edge as you can get, and we were getting these reports of we've seen plastic going by in the water. And it was the first time in my life I sort of realized, oh my God, this is really everywhere now. And of course, we know what has happened since. All the evidence is there for that now. I didn't get the chance to talk to Richard about this tonight, but I'm a fifth generation Fijian, and my great-great-grandfather came to Fiji as a master mariner, and he was sailing. He must have been crazy too, because he was sailing back and forth through the Southern Ocean, from the UK to Australia, New Zealand, ending up in Fiji. But they would go back and forward, and I just marveled at those days of those sailing ships going through the Southern Ocean, the kind of gear that they had. And that was something I wanted to discuss a little bit with Richard. We'll save that for another time. That was the mid-19th century. I'm going to close very soon, but I do want to tell you that I have sailed on one of these Ocean Race yachts, and it was just, I thought it was going to be a pleasure cruise. I was just going from Barcelona across to Marseille. It was the IUCN World Congress, wasn't it? In Marseille. So I went down to Barcelona, jumped on, and off we went, and lovely. And around about midnight, I was feeling pretty seasick, and I thought, oh, I better go downstairs and sleep. So when you go downstairs, what do you call it, Richard, when you go down? Below. Yeah. When you go below, and there's this hull, which there's nothing in it. There's this thing that passes for a toilet, and I assure you I had constipation all the way to Marseille. And then there's like, where's the bed? And they said, no, just pull this out. And you pull off the side of the hull a little kind of neck thing. It's not a hammock. And you've got to get into that, and you sleep up against the side of the hull, or try to sleep. And the noise is incredible, because you've got, how thick are those hulls?
Yeah,
about that. And you've got your ear up against it, because you're forced against it in this tiny little net that you're in. And what you can hear is this water rushing by just a quarter of an inch away from your ear. And then, half an hour later, when they decide to do the big tack, it's like World War III has broken out. One of the scariest things that happened in my life. I thought I was going to be drowned in the Mediterranean, but all they were doing was tacking. Anyway, look, it was Ernest Hemingway, I think, who said that the best way to find out if you can trust somebody
trust them.
Ambassador Thomson, thank you for being with us. This brings the speaking part to an end, but I just want to pass the mic quickly to our host, Carmen and Richard. If there's anything you want to say, if anything else, good night to our participants.
Thank you. Yeah, well, Richard, you okay? We go? Yeah, good. No, very, very inspiring messages. Thank you very much for the participation, for the contribution. We hope that you enjoyed. I enjoyed a lot. Thank you so much. And now wishing you all the best for this challenging year, as always. No, every year is a challenging one. So for closing, I think it's. I'm talking about trust. I think when we stick to our purpose, I think this is very, very powerful. And okay, and Holcim, we are building progress for people and the planet, and this is our purpose, and we are stick to that. So thank you very much.
Carmen.
Thank you, and thank you so much, Carmen, for hosting us all here today together. And I think one in the networking afterwards, please also meet one of the great athletes here, other athlete in the room, a swimmer who broke a record swimming for over almost 5 days from Calvi to Monaco to highlight the state of the planet and the climate state. So you have a very interesting person to meet with us. And then in closing on a positive note, the question is, will we ever be able to restore the trust that is being lost around the world currently? And science says yes. If we have a willingness to restore it, and there is equal sides that wants to discuss and find common ways, there is an opportunity to restore trust.
Thank you. Very last thing for me. I've just been told there is an Ocean's nightcap. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the evening.